The rain-slick streets of Seattle blurred through my windshield as I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The echo of Jordan's final words, "I can't keep pretending this is enough for me," reverberating like thunder in my chest. 6 months had passed since that night, but tonight, spotting his car parked outside our old favorite dive bar on Capitol Hill, felt like the universe twisting the knife deeper, forcing me to confront the ghost I'd been running from. I slammed the door shut behind me, heart pounding, and stepped into the neon glow, only to freeze at the sight of him across the room. Jordan, alive in a way I'd never seen, surrounded by strangers who looked at him like he hung the moon, his laughter cutting through the haze like a lifeline I no longer deserved. I turned away, but it was too late. Our eyes locked across the crowded bar, and in that split second, the world narrowed to just us. Me, Alex Harper, 28 years old and unraveling at the seams, and him, the man who'd once been my everything, now blooming into someone I barely recognized. The breakup had gutted me, left me adrift in a sea of unanswered questions about who I was without him. But seeing Jordan like this, radiant and unapologetic, ignited a spark of something dangerous. Curiosity laced with the sharp sting of envy. I should have walked out. Instead, I ordered a whiskey neat and slid onto a stool at the bar, stealing glances as the night unfolded around me like a story I wasn't ready to read. Jordan didn't approach right away. He was deep in conversation with a group at a corner table. 3 men and a woman, all in their late 20s or early 30s, their easy camaraderie is stark contrast to the isolation I'd wrapped myself in since he left. One of them, a tall guy with a sleeve of intricate tattoos snaking up his arm, leaned in close to Jordan, their shoulders brushing in a way that sent an irrational jolt through me. Who were they? Friends from his new job at the tech startup? Or something more? The thought clawed at my insides. But beneath the jealousy simmered a reluctant admiration. Jordan had always been the dreamer, the one pushing us toward adventures we'd never taken. I'd held us back, too scared to rock the boat in our quiet life in the suburbs, content with movie nights and takeout, blind to how it was suffocating him. By the time he finally crossed the room, the bar had filled with the afterwork crowd, the air thick with the scent of spilled beer and fried onions. "Alex," he said, his voice soft but steady, like he was testing the waters of a frozen lake. Up close, he looked good, better than good. The lines around his eyes from our endless arguments had softened, replaced by a quiet confidence that made my stomach twist. He was wearing that old leather jacket I'd bought him for his birthday 2 years ago, the one that smelled like pine and possibility. "What are you doing here?" I forced a laugh that came out brittle. "Same as you, I guess. Drowning sorrows in cheap booze." It was a lie. I'd come because of a whim, a Google alert I'd stupidly set up for his name months ago, notifying me of his latest post about some community event on the Hill. Pride Month might have ended, but Jordan had thrown himself into the scene like a man reborn, volunteering for queer youth programs, attending panels on intersectional identities. I'd skimmed the article in my car, heart aching at the photos of him smiling with kids half our age, and before I knew it, I was driving here. He slid onto the stool next to me, signaling the bartender for 2 more drinks. "It's not cheap anymore. They raised prices last month." Small talk. Safe territory. But his eyes searched mine, probing for the cracks I'd papered over with workaholic hours and forced gym routines. We sipped in silence for a moment, the jukebox crooning an old Fleetwood Mac tune about Silver Springs and lost chances. "You look tired," he ventured finally. "Yeah, well, life's a grind." I shrugged, but the words hung heavy. Tired didn't cover it. The breakup had cracked open something fundamental in me. A realization that our 5 years together had been a careful dance around the edges of who we really were. Jordan had come out in college, bold and unfiltered, while I'd spent my 20s in the closet, dating women to please my conservative family in Spokane. When we met at a mutual friend's wedding in Portland, it felt like fate, 2 guys fumbling toward authenticity. But I'd never fully let go of the fear, the what-ifs about my job and finance, about disappointing my parents. Jordan had stayed, loved me through it, until he couldn't anymore. He glanced back at his table, where the tattooed guy, Marcus, I later learned, waved him over with a grin. "That's my crew," Jordan said, a hint of pride in his voice. "We just wrapped a workshop on safe spaces for trans allies. It's eye-opening." There was the casual drop of his new world, the one without me. I nodded, pretending interest, but inside, a storm brewed. "Eye-opening? What about us? Hadn't we built something real, flawed as it was?" The night wore on, and against my better judgment, I let him pull me into the fold. Marcus introduced himself with a firm handshake and a knowing smile, like he could sense the history crackling between Jordan and me. Beside him sat Lena, a sharp-witted graphic designer with a buzz cut and earrings that dangled like tiny galaxies, and Theo, a soft-spoken teacher whose quiet strength anchored the group. They were a mosaic of stories. Marcus, a former military vet navigating PTSD through art. Lena, who'd fled a toxic marriage to embrace her bisexuality. Theo, mentoring queer kids in the foster system. As they shared laughs over shared plates of nachos, I felt like an intruder, my straight-laced suits and stock market lingo worlds apart from their raw, unfiltered lives. But Jordan's presence wove a thread through it all. He caught my eye during a story about a recent rally against anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, his gaze holding a silent plea. See this, Alex. See me. By closing time, as the group spilled out onto the rain-washed sidewalk, umbrellas blooming like black flowers, Jordan lingered. Walk with me, he asked, and I nodded, the pull too strong to resist. We wandered down Broadway, the heart of Seattle's queer district, past shop windows aglow with pride stickers and murals of intertwined hands in every shade of the rainbow. The air hummed with late-night energy, couples stealing kisses under awnings, street performers strumming guitars with lyrics about breaking free. Jordan talked freely, words tumbling out like they'd been dammed up too long. He told me about the volunteer trips to rural Washington, supporting isolated LGBTQ plus elders, about the poetry slams where he'd read pieces that made my throat tighten with recognition. It's like I was sleepwalking before, he admitted, stopping under a flickering street lamp. With you, it was safe, but it wasn't alive. I needed this community to remember who I am. His honesty sliced through me. And what about us? Was I just holding you back? The question escaped before I could cage it, raw and vulnerable in the damp night. He reached out, his fingers brushing my arm, sending sparks up my spine. No, Alex, you're my anchor. But anchors can sink you if you don't cut the line sometimes. We stood there, inches apart, the space between us charged with unspoken what-ifs. Rain began to fall again, soft and insistent, mirroring the tears I refused to let fall. When he finally pulled away, promising to text, I walked home alone, the city's pulse echoing my own fractured heartbeat. That night, sleep evaded me, haunted by visions of Jordan's world, a vibrant tapestry I'd ignored for too long. Little did I know, stepping into it would unravel everything I thought I knew about love, forcing me to face the man in the mirror and the desires I'd buried deep. The next morning dawned gray and unrelenting, Seattle's perpetual overcast mirroring the fog in my mind as I nursed a hangover that had less to do with whiskey and more with the ghost of Jordan's touch. I called in sick to the office, something I never did, and spent the day pacing my cramped apartment in Belltown, the walls closing in like accusations. Photos of us, smiling at Pike Place Market, arms wrapped around each other on a hike up Rattlesnake Ledge, stared back from every shelf, relics of a love I'd taken for granted. By afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. Coffee? Neutral ground. 3 p.m. at Victrola. I arrived early, heart hammering, choosing a corner table where the aroma of fresh roasted beans couldn't quite mask my nerves. The cafe buzzed with laptop warriors and artists sketching in notebooks, a microcosm of the city's creative underbelly. Jordan walked in 5 minutes late, shaking rain from his hair, carrying a canvas tote slung over one shoulder, probably stuffed with flyers for his latest cause. He spotted me immediately, his smile tentative but genuine, and slid into the seat across from me with 2 lattes in hand. Figured you'd need this. Extra shot. We talked surface level at first, work gripes, the Mariners' latest losing streak, but the undercurrent pulled us deeper. He asked about my family, and I hesitated before admitting the truth. Mom had cornered me on my last visit home, her voice laced with that passive-aggressive concern. When are you settling down with a nice girl, Alex? Clock's ticking. I'd laughed it off, but it festered, a reminder of the facade I'd maintained even after coming out to them last year. Jordan's eyes softened. I get it. My sister's the same, always hinting at grandkids. But being out here with people who see you, it's freeing. He leaned forward, elbows on the scarred wooden table, and that's when the dam broke. Last night, he said, voice low, seeing you there. It stirred things up. I thought I was done, Alex. Moved on. But you're still in my head like a song I can't shake. My breath caught, the air between us thickening with possibility. I wanted to reach across, trace the line of his jaw, but fear clamped down. What if this was just pity? What if I drag him back into my mess? Instead, I deflected. Tell me more about the workshop. The one with Marcus in them. It was a lifeline, and he took it, diving into tales of the evening. Role-playing scenarios for supporting trans friends, heated debates on allyship versus performative activism. His passion lit him up, words flowing like poetry, and for the first time I listened, not as the ex trying to win him back, but as someone starving for connection. It's not just talk, he emphasized. Last month, we helped a kid, Jamie, 17, kicked out by his folks in a coma. Got him into a shelter, linked him with counseling. Moments like that, they remind you love isn't just romance. It's showing up. His words landed like stones in still water, rippling through my defenses. I'd always equated love with the fireworks of our early days, the stolen weekends in the San Juans, bodies tangled in flannel sheets. But Jordan was painting something broader, a love woven into community, resilience, justice. As we finished our coffees, the cafe emptying around us, he invited me to the next event. A queer film screening at the Northwest Film Forum, followed by a Q&A with the director, a non-binary filmmaker from LA. No pressure, he added quickly. Just, if you want to see. I said yes before doubt could intervene, and that evening, as I dressed in something less corporate, a button-down untucked over jeans, I felt a shift like shedding an ill-fitting skin. The theater on First Avenue thrummed with anticipation, posters for indie flicks plastering the walls, the lobby alive with chatter. Jordan saved me a seat, and soon Marcus, Lena, and Theo filed in, along with a dozen others whose names blurred in the dim light. The film, a raw documentary on intergenerational queer stories, hit like a freight train. Elders recounting Stonewall riots, young activists fighting book bans in Florida, lovers navigating open relationships amid societal scorn. Tears pricked my eyes during a scene of a black trans woman rebuilding after a hate crime, her voice steady. Love saved me. Not some fairy tale, but the fierce kind from folks who refuse to let you fall. Beside me, Jordan's hand found mine in the dark, a brief squeeze that spoke volumes. No words, just presence. Afterward, during the Q&A, questions flew about representation, mental health, the intersection of race and queerness. I stayed silent, absorbing, until Lena nudged me. What about you, newcomer? Thoughts? Panic flared, but Jordan's encouraging nod steadied me. It's humbling, I managed. I've been so wrapped up in my own head, I forgot love's bigger than two people. It's this. I gestured vaguely at the room, earning nods and a warm laugh from the director. As the crowd dispersed into the rainy night, Jordan walked me to my car, the city lights reflecting off puddles like scattered stars. You did good in there, he murmured, leaning against the doorframe. Emboldened, I closed the gap, our lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of coffee and redemption. Tentative at first, then deepening with the hunger of months apart. His hands framed my face, thumbs brushing away the dampness on my cheeks, and for a heartbeat, the world righted itself. But as we pulled back, breathless, reality intruded. My phone buzzed with a work email, a reminder of the life waiting to pull me under. This doesn't fix everything, I whispered, hating the caution in my voice. I know, Jordan replied, his eyes searching mine. But it's a start. Come to the rally this weekend? Real action. Marching for trans rights downtown. I nodded, pulse racing, unaware that agreeing would thrust me into a whirlwind where old wounds reopened and new ones formed, testing whether I could truly embrace the love he, and this world, offered. That kiss lingered on my lips as I drove home through the labyrinth of Seattle's one-ways, the Space Needle piercing the skyline like a beacon of fragile hope. Sleep came fitfully, dreams tangled with film clips and Jordan's scent, but dawn brought clarity. I couldn't half-step into this. If I wanted him back, I needed to dive headfirst into his universe, fears be damned. Saturday arrived with uncharacteristic Seattle sun, the kind that tricks you into optimism before the clouds roll back in. I met Jordan at California Anderson Park, ground zero for the rally, where hundreds gathered under a sea of rainbow banners and handmade signs. Trans lives matter, love wins, for everyone. The air crackled with chants and drumbeats, a symphony of defiance that both exhilarated and terrified me. Jordan found me in the crowd, his face painted with subtle flag stripes, handing out water bottles to weary marchers. You made it, he said, pulling me into a quick hug that smelled of sunscreen and resolve. We fell into step with his crew, Marcus leading chants with a megaphone, Lena snapping photos for her Insta advocacy account, Theo distributing info packets on local resources. As we snaked through downtown, past skyscrapers housing the very corporations that donated to anti-queer politicians, the energy built like a storm. Speakers took turns on a makeshift stage. A Latina lesbian council member railing against conversion therapy bills, a non-binary teen sharing their suicide attempt and survival through community support. Each story chipped away at my armor, exposing the privilege I'd clung to, my white-collar job shielding me from the front lines. But the real test came midway through, when counter-protesters appeared at the edge of Pioneer Square. A dozen or so, bundled in ill-fitting suits, waving crosses and signs screaming repent or perish. Their chants clashed with ours, a cacophony of hate meeting hope. I froze as one lunged forward, spitting vitriol at a young, trans woman marching ahead of us. Freak. God hates your kind. Security pushed him back, but the venom seeped in, stirring memories of my own closeted youth, taunts in high school locker rooms, the fear that kept me silent. Jordan sensed my tension, his hands slipping into mine. Breathe, Alex. They're loud, but we're louder. His grip anchored me, a silent vow amid the chaos. We kept moving, voices rising in unison. No justice, no peace. By the time we reached the rally's end at City Hall, sweat-soaked and hoarse, a profound exhaustion settled. Not defeat, but a cathartic release. Sitting on the steps afterward, sharing a falafel wrap from a nearby truck, Jordan turned to me. That was intense. You okay? I nodded, throat tight. It was real, scarier than I thought, but seeing everyone stand together, it makes you believe in something bigger. He smiled, that crooked grin that had hooked me years ago, and leaned his head on my shoulder. In that moment, amid the dispersing crowd and distant sirens, I glimpsed it. Love not as possession, but as solidarity, a force multiplier against the world's cruelties. We spent the evening decompressing at his new place in Capitol Hill, a cozy walk-up with exposed brick and bookshelves groaning under queer-lit classics. It was worlds from our old apartment, alive with plants and protest posters, a stranger's sanctuary that felt oddly like home. Over takeout pad thai, we talked deep into night, barriers crumbling. He confessed the loneliness post-breakup, the hookups that left him emptier, the therapy sessions where he'd unpacked his resentment toward my hesitance. I blamed you, he admitted, but it was me too, afraid of rocking the boat for us both. My turn came harder. I spoke of the shame from my upbringing, Dad's Bible-thumping sermons equating queerness with sin, the way I'd internalized it until Jordan's love coaxed me out. I thought if I just worked harder, provided stability, it'd be enough. But I was scared of losing you, of losing myself. Tears came then, hot and unbidden, and he wiped them away, pulling me close. Our bodies aligned on the couch, familiar yet electric, kisses evolving from comfort to conflagration. Clothes shed in a trail to the bedroom, where we rediscovered each other with a reverence born of absence. Slow explorations, whispers of I missed this, gasps of rediscovered pleasure. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his heartbeat steady under my palm, doubt crept in like fog off the sound. What if I can't keep up? I murmured into the dark. Your world, it's so vital, and I'm just me. He propped up on an elbow, eyes earnest. That's the point, Alex. Love means growing together, not fitting perfectly from the start. But you have to want it, all of it. His words hung, a challenge and a promise. As sleep claimed us, I held on to that, unaware that the week ahead would bring a crisis testing our fragile rebuild. A call from my sister about family drama, pulling me back to Spokane, and a revelation for Jordan's past that threatened to shatter the trust we'd just mended. Monday morning hit like a freight train. Back to spreadsheets and conference calls, the rally's adrenaline fading into the humdrum of my corner office overlooking Elliott Bay. Jordan and I texted through the day, flirty banter laced with plans for a low-key date. Dim sum in the International District. But by lunch, my phone rang with my sister's number, her voice frantic. Alex, it's Dad. He had a heart scare last night. Stable now, but you need to come home. Mom's a wreck. Spokane was a 4.5-hour drive east, across the Cascades, a journey I'd made countless times but dreaded now. Family meant eggshells, coded judgments about my lifestyle, as they politely called it. I canceled on Jordan, mumbling excuses, and hit the road as dusk fell, the mountains rising like silent judges. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret when I arrived, Dad pale in his bed, Mom hovering with a Bible in hand. Son, she said, hugging me stiffly, thank God you're here. We've been praying. Conversations skirted the edges, health updates, church gossip, but undercurrents swirled. Over coffee in the cafeteria, my sister Ellie pulled me aside. They're asking about you settling down again. And I saw the photos online. That rally? Mom's beside herself. Says it's a phase, that Jordan's a bad influence. Her eyes pleaded for understanding, but anger flared in me. A phase? After years of loving him, building a life? I defended half-heartedly, the old patterns kicking in, and drove back to Seattle the next day with a headache and unresolved fury. Jordan met me at the door of my place, takeout in hand, his concern a bomb. Talk to me, he urged. As we ate cross-legged on the floor, the words poured out, the hospital sterility, the unspoken homophobia, my complicity in tiptoeing around it. He listened without interrupting, then shared his own family fracture, his parents in Eugene, Oregon, who'd cut ties after he transitioned socially in his 20s. No, wait, that wasn't right. Jordan had always been cis, but as he delved deeper, a confession slipped. There's something I haven't told you. Back in college, before we met, I dated someone who was trans. It ended badly. Her family found out, doxed me online. I buried it, scared it'd follow us. The revelation landed like a punch. Doxed. The casual bigotry I'd glimpsed at the rally suddenly had a personal edge, threats, harassment, the kind that lingers. Why now? I asked, voice tight. Because if we're doing this, no more secrets. His vulnerability cracked me open, and we clung to each other that night, making love with an urgency born of shared scars. But seeds of doubt took root. Could I shield him from my family's toxicity? Protect us both in a world quick to divide? The following weeks blurred into a rhythm of tentative bliss and lurking shadows. Jordan and I carved out stolen moments. Brunch at Café Basala with croissants flaking like autumn leaves. Sunset walks along the Burke Gilman Trail, where we'd pause to kiss against chain-link fences overlooking the ship canal. His world enveloped me gradually. I tagged along to a book club, discussing Audre Lorde's essays on erotic power as resistance, my mind alight with connections to our own intimacy. At a drag brunch in the CD, Queen's lip-syncing to Ariana Grande, while serving bottomless mimosas, I laughed freer than I had in years, Jordan's hand on my knee, under the table a constant hum of belonging. Yet the idol frayed at the edges. We're piled on. A merger deadline looming, my boss's passive digs about personal distractions hitting too close. And family? Ellie called weekly, relaying Mom's concerns, each one a barb. We're just worried you're throwing your future away. I confided in Jordan during a rainy evening at his place, storm clouds mirroring my mood as we huddled under a quilt on his fire escape. It's like they see me as broken, I said, voice cracking. And part of me wonders if they're right. He pulled me closer, rain pattering on the metal roof. They're scared, Alex, of losing the son they know. But you? You're not broken. You're becoming. His faith in me was a lifeline, but that night as thunder rolled, he got a call that shattered our cocoon. Marcus, voice trembling on speaker. Jordan, it's bad. Theo's ex showed up at the school, threatened him in front of the kids. Cops are involved, but we need you. We raced to Theo's apartment in the Central District, a modest brownstone buzzing with police lights. Theo sat on the stoop, blanket draped, eyes hollow as he recounted the nightmare. His ex, Derek, a volatile man from a conservative upbringing, tracking him down after months of radio silence. He found out about the rally photos online, Theo whispered. Said I was corrupting the students, that he'd make sure I lost my job. Bruises bloomed on his arm from where Derek had grabbed him, and as details emerged, stalking texts, slashed tires, horror settled over us. Jordan took charge, coordinating with Lena on a safety plan. Restraining order, therapist referral, community fund for repairs. I hovered, useless at first, until Theo's quiet, "Thanks for coming," pierced me. In the aftermath, over herbal tea in his kitchen, he opened up about their toxic history, Derek's internalized homophobia turning to control, the cycle Theo had broken by coming out fully last year. "Love shouldn't cage you," he said, echoing Jordan's earlier wisdom. "It should set you free." Driving home through deserted streets, the weight pressed on me. What if that happens to us? I blurted to Jordan. My family, or worse, someone from work finds out. He squeezed my thigh, voice steady. Then we face it, together. But you can't live in fear forever. His words ignited a spark, but fate had other plans. The next day, an email from HR, mandatory diversity training next week. Attendance required. I groaned, imagining the sanitized slides on inclusion. But Jordan saw opportunity. Go, and speak up if it feels off. Real change starts small. The session, in a sterile conference room with stale donuts, was worse than expected, facilitator droning on buzzwords while sidelining actual queer voices. When a colleague quipped, "This stuff's just politics," I snapped, voice amplified by Theo's story. It's lives. People losing jobs, safety, because of ignorance like that. Silence fell, then murmurs of agreement. My bosses gnawed a grudging approval. Back at my desk, adrenaline buzzing, I texted Jordan. Stood up. Felt good. That evening, we celebrated at a speakeasy in Belltown. Jazz crooning as we sipped old fashions. Emboldened by the buzz, I proposed something reckless. Let's go public. Dinner with your crew, then. Post a photo. Show the world. His eyes widened, then softened with pride. Only if you're sure. We were in that tipsy haze, snapping a selfie, arms around each other, grins defiant, uploading it with a simple caption, relearning love one step at a time. Queer in here. Likes poured in from his circle, warm welcomes that buoyed me. But by morning, backlash it. A snide comment from an old college buddy. Careful, man. Don't tank your career. Worse, a voicemail from mom, voice quivering. Alex, what is this? We're family. Come home. We'll fix this. The call to Spokane was inevitable, a powder keg I delayed too long. Jordan drove me to the airport, kiss lingering. Be you, he urged. No apologies. The flight east was turbulent, mirroring my gut, and landing in the dry inland empire felt like stepping into a time warp. Flat skies, strip malls, the weight of expectation. Home was a split level in a cul-de-sac, Christmas lights still up from last year. Dinner was strained. Dad's pointed silence, Mom's fluttering hands serving pot roast, Ellie mediating with forced cheer. It boiled over in the living room, Bible open on the coffee table like a gauntlet. This lifestyle, Mom ventured, it's not God's plan. We love you, but love. I interrupted, heart thundering. You mean conditional acceptance? Jordan, he's the best thing that's happened to me. And this world he's shown me, it's full of people like Theo, fighting for scraps of dignity you take for granted. Dad's face reddened, quoting verses, but Ellie chimed in. Enough, Dad. Alex is happy. Isn't that the plan? The argument raged, tears flowing, until exhaustion claimed us. Lying in my childhood bed, posters of straight-laced heroes mocking me. I texted Jordan a voice note. Shaky breaths, raw confession. His reply came swift. Proud of you. Fly back to me. Morning brought fragile truce. Mom's hug tighter, Dad's gruff be safe. And as the plane lifted west, catharsis washed over me. I'd drawn a line, not in hate, but in truth. Reuniting with Jordan at Seattle-Tacoma, his embrace erased the miles. Tell me everything, he demanded over airport burritos. As I spilled, his reactions, laughter, outrage, tenderness, knit me whole. But lurking in his eyes was his own storm. A letter from his past, the trans ex's family resurfacing, demanding closure that smelled of threat. Our love, it seemed, was a battlefield, demanding we arm ourselves with more than affection, with the fierce, communal kind that endures. Fall deepened in Seattle, leaves carpeting the sidewalks in crimson and gold, as Jordan and I navigated the aftershocks of my family showdown. We'd upgraded to official, keys exchanged, weekends merged, yet the specter of his past loomed. The letter arrived mid-October, Innocuous envelope postmarked from Portland. We know what you did to our daughter. Time to make it right. Inside, a photo of us at the rally, circled in red, with a scrawled note, payback. Jordan's face drained of color as he read it aloud in my kitchen. Coffee forgotten. It's them, Sarah's parents. After we broke up, they blamed me for confusing her, spread rumors online. Thought it had died down. Sarah, the ghost from his undergrad days, a trans woman whose transition had strained their relationship until it snapped under family pressure. The doxing that followed, his address leaked, hate mail piling up, had scarred him, a wound I glimpsed but never fully grasped. Fear coiled in my gut, but anger overrode it. We go to the cops, I said firmly, echoing the safety plans we drilled with the crew. He nodded, but hesitation lingered. What if it blows up? My job, the volunteering? Then we fight smarter. That afternoon, we met Lena at a crisis center in the U District, her legal aid connections yielding a no-contact order and tips on digital security. Marcus joined via video, his military comm a steadying force. Document everything. We got your back. Theo, still healing from his ordeal, sent a care package. Crystals for protection, a handwritten note, strength in the circle. The threat galvanized us, turning vulnerability into vigilance. We attended a self-defense workshop for queer folks, learning holds and escapes in a sweaty gym, Jordan's focus sharpening as he pinned me playfully during drills. See, we're unbreakable, he teased, but his eyes held resolve. Nights, we'd pore over old emails from Sarah's family, tracing patterns, while making love with a renewed ferocity, bodies claiming agency against invisible foes. Publicly, we leaned in. I came out at work, emailing my team a measure announcement, met with a mix of support, cheers from the young interns, and awkward silence from upper management. Jordan posted about the harassment anonymously on a queer forum, sparking a thread of survivor stories that reminded us we weren't alone. The crew became family, game nights at Theo's with board games laced with innuendo, hikes in Discovery Park where we'd scatter intentions into the wind, affirming resilience. A crack showed. Paranoia crept in. A car idling too long outside Jordan's. Anonymous likes on our couple pics from burner accounts. One evening, after a false alarm, a delivery guy mistaken for a stalker, we argued. This is insane. I snapped, pacing his living room. Maybe we dial back, go low profile until... No. His voice cut sharp, eyes flashing. Hiding's what they want. What Derek did to Theo, what they did to Sarah, it's control. I won't give them that power over us. Hurt flared. He saw my caution as rejection, an echo of our breakup's fault lines. I stormed out, walking aimless through Fremont's troll sculpture under bridges, the city's quirky guardians mocking my turmoil. Hours later, sheepish texts bridged the gap. Sorry. Scared, not retreating. His reply, me too. Come home. Reconciliation was raw. Apologies whispered over midnight tacos. Bodies mending what words couldn't. I love you. I said first, the words of Al. All of you, the fighter, the dreamer. He traced my collarbone, murmuring, and I love the man who's learning to fight beside me. Thanksgiving loomed, a minefield. I invited the crew to my place, a potluck of queer traditions. Lena's vegan turkey, Marcus's smoked brisket, Theo's pumpkin pie with a drag queen twist. Jordan and I cooked together, stuffing peppers while debating Audre Lorde quotes. Laughter easing the tension. The meal unfolded in chaos and joy. Stories swapped, toast to absent allies, impromptu dance party to Chapel Roan. As plates cleared, I pulled Jordan aside on the balcony, city sprawl twinkling below. This sus them, it's what I never knew I needed. His kiss was answer enough, but the night soured when my phone buzzed. Ellie, voice urgent. Mom saw your post. She's spiraling, talking divorce from dad over it. Come for the holiday? Guilt twisted, but Jordan's hand in mine steadied. Go if you need, he said. But take me. Show them the whole picture. The drive to Spokane was fraught, evergreen forest giving way to high desert. Jordan's playlist of empowering anthems our armor. My parents' house felt smaller, air thick with unspoken. Dinner was a battlefield. Turkey dry. Conversations stilted until Mom cornered us in the kitchen. This man, she hissed, eyeing Jordan, he's turning you against us. No, I countered, voice steady. He's showing me how to love without shame. And you, your love could do that too, if you'd let it. Dad joined, Bible in hand. But Jordan spoke then, calm and unflinching. I know faith can heal, but it shouldn't wound. Sarah, my ex, she lost her family to judgment like this. Don't let that be your legacy. Silence stretched, then Mom's sob broke it. I just want you safe. Ellie mediated, and by pie, tentative bridges formed. Dad's gruff question about Jordan's job, a shared laugh over football. No miracles, but seeds planted. Driving back under starlit skies, Jordan squeezed my hand. Brave, he whispered. December brought snow, blanketing Seattle in rare white, and with it, escalation. A package arrived at Jordan's door. No return address. Inside a printed article from years ago, Sarah's photo defaced, with our address scrawled. Panic surged. We called the cops, filed reports, but bureaucracy dragged. Sleepless, I held him as he trembled. What if they come for you? Then we run, or fight. I vowed, but fear not. The crew rallied. A sleepover at Marcus's fortified loft. Strategies hashed over hot cocoa. Lena dug up dirt. Sarah's parents, deep in QAnon forums, a pattern of harassment suits. Leverage, she grinned. Armed with evidence, we met a lawyer, filing for peace orders. Amid the storm, Grace emerged. A holiday market in Pike Place, mulled wine warming us, Jordan proposed. Not rings, but intention. Marry me? Not legally yet, but in our way. Vows to this life, this love. Tears froze on my lashes. Yes, I breathed, kissing him amid twinkle lights and carolers. But as New Year's Eve neared, a final gauntlet. An anonymous tip to my HR, alleging disruptive personal drama. Suspension loomed, career teetering. Jordan's face fell when I told him. My fault. Ours, I corrected. And worth it. In that crucible, love clarified. Not fairy tale, but forged in fire, expansive as the community embracing us. New Year's Eve glittered with precarious promise. Seattle's fireworks poised to burst over the sound as Jordan and I dressed for our makeshift ceremony. A queer solstice ritual at the crew's rented cabin in the Olympics. Tensions simmered. My work suspension a dark cloud. The harasser's silence, more ominous than noise. But we'd chosen joy, packing intentions into a suitcase. Notes of gratitude, photos of rallies, a vial of rally dirt for grounding. The drive wound through misty evergreens, radio humming with Lizzo's anthems of self-love. At the cabin, fairy lights draped rafters, a bonfire crackling outside. The crew arrived in waves. Marcus with his guitar, Lena bearing crystal altars, Theo with homemade mead. 20 souls total, friends new and old, including a surprise. Sarah herself, reached via Lena's network, her presence a bridge to Jordan's past. Tall and poised, with a cascade of auburn waves and a tattoo of phoenix wings on her collarbone. She hugged him tightly. Heard about the bullshit, she said. We're in this together now. The ritual unfolded under stars, circle cast with sage smoke. Elders, 2 Annies from the local Two-Spirit collective, led, invoking ancestors and elements. Jordan and I stood at center, hands bound with rainbow cord, reciting vows we'd penned separately. Mine, of shedding fear for fear's protection. His of dreaming bold with unyielding heart. In this world we build, he said, voice breaking. I choose you, flaws, fights, and all. Rings, simple silver bands, etched with intertwined roots, slid on. Cheers erupting as we kissed, sealing with firelit passion. Fireworks echoed distant booms, but ours was internal, a supernova of belonging. Toasts flowed. Marcus on brotherhood's armor, Theo on healing's grace, Sarah on forgiveness's freedom. They try to break me, she shared, but look, Jordan's light still shines. Later, by the fire, she pulled me aside. He loves hard, Alex. Deserves the same. Her absolution eased a knot I hadn't named. Back in the city, January's gray tested our glow. My HR hearing loomed. A formal inquiry into conduct, and the harassers escalated. Slashed tires on Jordan's car. A brick through Lena's window with a slur carved. Panic rippled. We bunkered at my place, crew rotating watch. Cops dragged feet, no direct evidence, until Sarah's testimony cracked it. She'd saved old threats, linking her parents to a harassment ring. Raids followed, arrests in Portland, the noose tightening. Yet the real battle was internal. During a storm-lashed night, power out, Jordan confessed doubts. What if this love costs too much? Your job, our safety. Thunder rattled windows as I held him. It already has. But without it, I'd be half alive. Dawn brought resolve. We volunteered at a shelter, serving breakfast to queer youth fleeing homes like mine once threatened. One kid, 16 and wide-eyed, reminded me of my younger self. How do you know it gets better? Jordan knelt. Because we make it. Every day. My hearing arrived mid-month, suit crisp, Jordan waiting outside. The panel, diverse faces, one openly gay, grilled, complaints anonymous, but whispers of bias. I spoke truth. My life outside work enriches it. Suspension for loving openly? That's the real disruption. Evidence mounted, colleague affidavits, my contributions, and verdict, reinstatement, with a quiet push for policy reform. Victory tasted bittersweet, but Jordan's whoop in the hall erased doubts. Spring teased with crocuses as threats waned. Court dates set, restraining orders ironclad. We reclaimed normalcy. Picnics in Volunteer Park, temple visits to the queer Buddhist Sangha, where meditations on compassion soothed old wounds. Jordan's poetry slam debut drew tears. Verses on rebirth through rupture, dedicating to the ex who became home. But closure demanded confrontation. May brought Sarah's parents' trial in federal court, a spectacle of depositions and damning emails. Jordan testified, voice steady. Your hate didn't destroy us. It forged something stronger. I sat beside Sarah, her hand in mine, as verdicts landed. Fines, probation, mandated counseling. Outside, rain cleansing the steps, she hugged us. Free, she breathed. Summer bloomed, pride season cresting. We marched again, hands linked, signs proclaiming love's revolution. At the festival, under rainbow arches, Jordan pulled me to a quiet corner. Remember the breakup? Thought I'd lost you forever. I traced his ring. You saved me. Opened eyes to love's true shape. Not just us, but all of us. That night, atop a float-thumping bass, bodies swaying in ecstatic unity, epiphany struck. Love wasn't the absence of pain, but its alchemy, turning breakup's ashes to communal fire, fear to fortitude. As confetti rained, Jordan's whisper cut through. This is what it means. And in his eyes, I saw it. Whole, unbroken, eternal. Yet, the story didn't end there. Fall circled back, anniversary of our split, and with it, a call from Mom. We're coming to visit. With open hearts. The plane landed, hugs awkward but real. Dad's tentative proud of you, son. Over dim sum, stories bridged gaps. Jordan's volunteering, my advocacy role at work. No perfection but progress. Love's quiet work. Years later, vows renewed under Seattle skies. Crew as witnesses, we'd laugh at the chaos. The threats, trials, transformations. After the breakup, I'd say, toasting, you opened a world. Jordan's grin, and you learned its heart. In that learning, we found not just each other, but the profound truth. Love, in its fullest, is liberation, for one, for all. In the hush of autumn's return, 2 years post-reunion, Seattle wrapped us in its familiar embrace. Fog weaving through evergreens, the distant fairy horn a lullaby to our evolved rhythm. The cabin and the Olympics had become annual pilgrimage, but this trip marked a milestone. Our legal wedding, small and sacred, Crew as family, my parents, transformed by time and tentative therapy, flying in from Spokane. Mom's letter months prior had cracked the final wall. We've been wrong. Teach us how to love like you do. The ceremony unfolded at lakeside, wildflowers nodding in breeze, efficient a two-spirit elder invoking water's wisdom. Vows echoed our first, deeper now, etched with trials. Through shadows of fear and flames of fight, I choose you, every dawn. Rings renewed, kisses sealed under cheering oaks, then feast of foraged berries and grilled salmon, laughter mingling with loon's call. Theo, now engaged to a gentle artist, toasted resilience. Marcus, tattoo expanded with unity symbols on brotherhood's bond. Lena, buzzcut silvered on joy's rebellion. Sarah, thriving in Portland's art scene, on forgiveness flight. My parents, seated tentative, raised glasses, dads to new beginnings, mom's tearful, we see you, milestones in mending. Evenings by fire, stories wove tapestry. The breakup's raw ache, Jordan's rebirth in community, my awakening to love's expanse. It wasn't just us, Jordan reflected, my head on his shoulder. It was the world you entered, messy, mighty, that redefined it. I nodded, fingers laced. From isolation to this, worth every scar. Back in City Pulse, life layered. My promotion to diversity lead, Jordan's nonprofit launch for queer elders joint travels. Road trip to Stonewall sites, volunteering in rural Oregon. Challenges lingered, policy battles, family frictions, but armed with circle strength, we thrived. One crisp morning, atop Cary Park with skyline vista, Jordan knelt anew. Not proposal, but promise. Marry me again, every year, laughter bubbled. Always. In that vista, Space Needle Sentinel, sound shimmering. We embodied the lesson. Love, post-heartbreak, blooms boundless, teaching not possession, but profound, shared humanity. And so, in the world's weave, we walked on. Hands held, hearts open, forever students of its truest meaning.